Other lines that we're looking at potential changes to are line 55 in Southwest Portland. A lot of comments about needing that for access to work. That would be retained, but at less frequent service than initially proposed. The other line that's being considered is line 60 Leahy Road, north of the Sunset Highway in Washington County. And as part of a proposal to modify the Cedar Mill shuttle service and make it a fixed route, we're looking at ways to pick up part of the line 60 where we heard the most comments. And again, that's an example of being able to retain some of the service and actually the higher ridership part of line 60 and achieve some cost savings and integrate it with this new fixed route on the Cedar Mill service. A couple of the lines that are not proposed for modification are largely because of the availability of alternative service in place. Two of the lines we heard lots of comments on were the 41 Tacoma from southeast Portland that runs into downtown Portland, and line 74, which is an express service from southeast Portland up 39th Avenue and into the Lloyd district. Those services have other services available in those areas that is, and looking at the travel times, fairly comparable to what can be achieved on the express service. So again, largely because of that availability of alternative service and good alternative service, we're continuing to propose to recommend discontinuation of those 2 weekday-only express lines from the open house stage to the public hearing stage. So I mentioned we're going to be out writing services again to get a little bit more detailed information about them. Next steps would be the public hearings in early April, and then we look to finalize the service in May so that we could begin production of the schedules and operator assignments and public timetables and so forth in time for the fall service change.
Mr. President, board members, I might just add that specifically that we will extend or have our public comment period now throughout this through April 10th, 5 p.m. on Friday, April 10th. There will be 3 public hearings which I and others, hopefully some of you will also be able to be at. And this then will have us be able to receive additional comments on these modified changes as well as any of the existing proposals that remain in place. With that, we have to be able to answer any questions. This does not require a formal action by you, but because of obviously the significance of this and the fact that ultimately these changes, many of them would require by ordinance, we want to be able to give you detailed information on where we are.
Well, it's unfortunate, of course, that we have to be dealing with a situation like this when our business is up.
Absolutely.
But with inevitable downturn in our revenues, driven principally by the manner in which so much of our funding occurs through payroll taxes, it's inevitable. I know Ken and all of the folks that you work with in this regard, the general manager and his team. I know a great deal of thought and consideration has gone into this. Very much appreciate that. There's nothing cavalier about your approach, and I think taking the time to try to listen to and react to all of the comments, including those yet still to come from the public hearing process, is also commendable. It takes a great deal of patience, and I know that it's hard at times when you're not as close to the situation as you folks are to attempt to double guess and try to conclude too quickly what some of the solutions would be. But ultimately, they have to, as you pointed out, try to continue to provide some level of service and still produce the necessary savings that we're looking for. So I think you've done a good job. Yes?
Ken, I would also like to echo some of the things that the chairman has said. And thank you and Steve Kess for meeting with me and giving me an overview as to what's going on in Clackamas County. As you know, it is difficult, and with the downturn in the economy and the downturn in employment in both Clackamas, well, I should say Clackamas, Washington, and Multnomah County, and the tax revenues that we're not receiving, it's very hard what you have to do. And in listening to me, I appreciate, I should say, in listening to you, I appreciate the things that you do, and I also appreciate the things that are coming to you as far as the Committee on Accessible Transportation will be coming to you because of the fact that some of the lines will affect the people that depend upon them to make sure that TRIMET takes them under consideration as to how they get to and from where they need to go. So, again, looking at line 156, I think what your decision, the decision that TRIMET has made on 156 versus discontinuing the line completely is a good decision. And I'd like to say to you and staff, job well done, and thank you.
Yes, sir.
Fred, one of the things I'd like to recommend, and you may already have this on your agenda to do, is that during the public comment period, that we get the word out to the public and the ridership that, while we're going to make some changes, these changes will be continually monitored. And if we discover that, we've perhaps caused some undue consequences, or we find better ways to provide the service, that we'll go back and make changes during the time. I think that would be helpful.
Mr. President, Board Member Richardson, absolutely. I think that's a very important message. We always do that, but to be able to let people know that there are still opportunities to be able to, if something really is an error, we will find ourselves addressing it. I do think that it's really to the tribute to Ken and his staff. One of the things we think is so important, and that's what he's outlined, and that is the ability to actually be out on those lines, riding and talking to the people who are riding it. We find things that are very important. We also were able to educate about another line that might be closer by that the individual isn't aware of, that allows them to be able to still get to where they're getting. This has also been particularly important when English has not been the primary language, because at that point we're able to really engage with people that sometimes maybe don't see it if it's only in print or if it's only on the news. So it really allows us to be able to better tailor the issues that are there. And then lastly, I might say, and I think this goes equally to the people who are riding the lift service, because if in fact service is reduced in the area, the lift boundary of where we would provide likewise could be shrunk as well. That would be a separate process, but could be shrunk. We have identified that there are just 31 individuals that would be so affected if that were done. What that really allows us is to do individual dealings with those individuals about what alternatives there are. Is ride connection or other services there? Are there other things that we can do? Because at that level, you're kind of actually dealing with, you can deal one-on-one.
Okay. Further comments? Great. Thank you. Proceed.
At this stage, as I've announced, we're actually going into the public hearing process, so we're really kind of in the second step of this process. It's a chance for the public to again look at the revisions and then to be able to actually give us additional comment. The message that I think that we all know is that these reductions are absolutely necessary. We have no choice because of the nature of the budget reduction, because of the payroll tax. But to be able to have utilized the stimulus to be able to offset about half of what would have if it were just straight across the board in the service area, I think is exactly the right one. Certainly, if we have to face additional cuts, our goal is going to be to try to find some stimulus money to be able to likewise offset some of those if they are inevitable additional service cuts. But this is a process. This is one that if we can predict exactly where the economy is going to be, we wouldn't be in this business. So, thank you. Let me then stress or mention several other things in my general manager's report. Number one is I did appear yesterday evening before the Tigard City Council, and it really is a partnership that we have with Tigard that's been a very important work together, not only working on things like sidewalk connections and other things to be able to look at, in fact, Transylvania Development as they look toward redeveloping their downtown area.